On this episode of DC On Screen, coronavirus production shutdowns, how a Snyder Cut release may affect post-theatrical Justice League releases, our Dream Plastic Man project, and Marvel vs. DC, Road to the Amalgam Universe. All that and more of your questions answered are coming up. We can at least resist an uncontrolled outbreak, but sadly, we must surrender to this uncontrolled ad break. Just call us the Quarantine Titans. Wash your hands! Practice social distancing.
Just don't do any of the things. Don't do any of the things people are still doing.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Welcome into DC On Screen episode 587. I'm your host, David C. Robertson. This is my trusty co-host, Jason Goss.
You say trusty.
Well, you weren't for the last couple weeks. This is the podcast where we discuss the DC Comics multiverse on film and television, give honest opinions on projects upcoming and past, and believe that every version of a property is valid, even if we really don't want it to be. If it's been released, it is fair game. Beware of spoilers. Welcome to the show. So the world is going crazy.
It's getting weird out there.
Everybody's starting to lock down.
Myself included, which is if this episode seems like we're moving on instead of screwing around like we might often do, that's because that's what's happening. I've got the whole family's at home, and they're just in the back, like champing at the bit. And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think the chains are going to hold that long, so we should probably keep going.
Yeah, and luckily we don't have a ton of news. We do have a lot of, a fair amount of customer, what the hell, listener feedback.
You can't get host right. You can't get listener right.
I know it.
What are you even
What's
doing?
wrong with me? It's my subconscious telling me it's time to move on from this podcast, Dave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I love it. I love it too much.
Did you already have this in your notes? I just picked up my phone for a second. There was a notification that Regal's closing their doors until further notice.
No, I didn't have that in my notes. Wow, that's... Well, I mean, we're going to talk about something like that.
I'm glad TV's in prime time right now. Because, apparently the movies aren't going to be doing much for us as far as what we can talk about.
Well, we know that The Flash is going on a hiatus for a couple weeks. They're going to shut down production.
See, I wondered about that. They should be toward the tail end of their principal photography, but normally they're not really shut down till end of March, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just starting to warm up. It's something the actors have bitched about several times. It's like just the moment it starts getting palatable. Like, here, head back to where you came from.
Yeah, we're going to try to get this underway. Now, we've been running a Joker giveaway. I've put it off for a couple of weeks, but guess what? We actually have a winner here. We did our random number generator, and out of 18 possible candidates, Matthew Salvatore, you have won the Joker code. Congratulations, sir. Thank you to DCU Fam for the code.
Makes perfect sense to me, though. Honestly, he's a very active member of the people who listen to us, and I appreciate it.
It's like the fates have smiled upon him. So, dude,
here, Matthew,
let us know.
A thing to keep you occupied for a couple hours in the coming weirdness.
I don't know when Matthew Salvatore sleeps.
I know what you're talking about. Because
it doesn't matter what time I post anything on DC On Screen. He's like the first to like it and retweet it.
Yeah, I've seen him. I've never tried to FBI style stalk his schedule, but I've often been confused by why. Because you and I have different schedules for the most part, so I often will look at our history and just be like, how?
Yeah,
how?
He has us both covered.
Yeah, that was that was supposed to happen in the wee hours when no one was okay.
And he makes pretty great little stop motion Lego movies too. I don't know.
He does.
I don't know when he has the time for this, but
I don't either.
Thank you.
Because it looks super time consuming, but
it does.
Clearly a passion project. He does a good job with it.
Yeah, I spent about 6 hours working on a stop motion one time with a Marvel Legends Luke Cage, like not like one of the current ones, like one of the like, the old school. Yeah, like where he looks like he's from the 70s, and this was like the first
like 8
release.
articulation points.
Yeah, like back when, who was it? Toy Biz or whoever had Marvel Legends, Hasbro or whatever it was. I think it's Hasbro now. Anyway, yeah, I didn't get very far. I worked for about 6 hours on it. Went, I have like 3 seconds of really bad looking footage. I'm done. We're done here.
I did that when I was a kid with one of the cameras that was the like hold over your shoulder type home video cameras.
Oh God, yeah.
And what I realized was when I was rifling through the case, just looking at what my grandparents had it, and it was like this magical piece of technology at the time. So long ago, and I was rifling through the case, and I saw this like button with a cord on it, and kind of started looking around and realized the cord plugged in somewhere. I was, what does that do? And then sure enough, it started and stopped things. So I was able to start and stop. And what I was doing was like I set up a shot, and then I would just move. I think it was like a toy soldier or something. It was something real stupid. I was just playing around with the technology, but I would like move it just a fraction and start and stop. Just a fraction, start, stop, fraction, start, stop. I made a few seconds worth of that over a couple hours and was pretty pleased with what I'd done in general and called it a day.
Yeah.
Never revisited the art form again.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a tough one. All right, so over to Patreon. I'm gonna post something from last week's. We've got a few things from last week's show, and I think I just keep not doing stuff and putting on. I need to put stuff on Patreon. Hopefully, during the quarantine, we'll be figuring that out.
Yeah, it might be time.
$1 a month gets you every episode ad free. I think that's worth it enough. $5 gets you all the rest of the stuff. So patreon.com/DC on screen. I know I'm a piece of crap. I'm sorry. All right, Birds of Prey has been out for 38 days. That's 5 weeks if you're counting there. Domestically, it has brought in $84 million. Worldwide, that brings it to $199 million. So almost 200.
It's lower than even I was expecting. But
and here's
plenty for what it cost.
Universal, you sent me this. A number of other people sent me this. I've already seen it. Universal is going to put out all of their theatrical releases onto the internet for so you can rent them, essentially, since all the theaters are closing down. And Cathy Yan was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind if it wouldn't bother me if Birds of Prey was released on. I'm like, yeah, I bet you don't. Maybe more people will freaking shell out the money for it.
Yeah. Yep. Those numbers match everything I'm seeing. I hadn't looked it up in weeks. I'm sorry. I haven't had time. But yeah.
Yeah. I had a guy at work ask me, like, is Birds of Prey
Worldwide
good?
office is still 2.5 times the production budget. They made their money. Like, you're going to get another showing of something. Yeah. It's not the end of that franchise yet.
It's not. And I don't know. I was listening to Fans Without Borders, and I finally I've been catching up on them, and I got to their Birds of Prey review. And Brent had a pretty interesting thought on it. And that was pretty much that, like, yes, they were R-rated, but not for good reasons. Like, they didn't really do R-rated. They like had a couple of F-bombs, but it wasn't violent enough to be an R-rated movie. Like, it was violent, but it didn't feel violent enough for an R-rated movie.
It was violent in the way that I would describe it as almost cartoonish. And if a person rating the movie instead described it as grotesque. Yeah. And by the way, it is that subjective. There's literally a board of people who, if I recall, are not publicly known, who make that decision. And, there will be done. It's that simple. So if it got that for any reason, hey, guess what? That's its rating. Yeah, I think it would have done better PG-13 for sure. I don't know how much, but more. I don't care if it's $1 more. The fact is, it would have done more.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know how it could be $1 more because the average ticket price is $15. So I'll just say, I don't care if it's $15 more.
I feel a little bit like, and I don't know, yeah, this is true, but I feel a little bit like, because Margot Robbie and Cathy Yan were talking about how so much before it was ever rated, how it's going to be like hard R. I feel like they accidentally made a PG-13 movie and then asked them, could you guys please just make it R? And the MPA was like, sold. Our favorite thing is to shit on things and crush them before they're ever out. Absolutely. R.
It's possible.
I don't think that's what really happened. I think they
genuinely, having watched it, the way I would have sold it is, this has some really intense moments, but it's nothing a teenager doesn't play in video games regularly over and over again. I mean, there's nothing. I can buy copies of Grand Theft Auto that have way worse content than this at 12. It's not even PG-13. I can just go buy that.
Yeah. And again, the people who do know it, I keep hearing people keep coming at me and saying like, "Hey, is Birds of Prey any good?" I'm like, "Yes, it's very good."
Yeah, it's genuinely good.
So these people aren't even like the people looking at Rotten Tomatoes. They're just like, "Hey, no one's talking about this. What's the deal with this?" And that's only after they know that I do a podcast.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. I guess we're gonna move over to Black Adam, and it's just, dude, there's not a lot. It's just The Rock is putting out another picture of him like beefing up. And he says, same game, different levels, same hell, different devils. Training for Black Adam, where the devils may change, but hell still stays the same. Shooting begins this summer. That part, that's the part of the news.
That's the news part. Okay.
But I did like the little poem.
Yeah.
Good job, Dwayne.
Yeah. Good on you for actually taking some time on that.
Whoever.
Tweet or Instagram post or whatever it was. No, I do appreciate it. I'm not being facetious. I do appreciate it.
All right. And Jesse Eisenberg says he wants to play Luthor again. He says, I would very much like to because it's such a cool character. Playing a villain in a superhero movie is the fun part. The good guys are fine, but the villains are the fun part because they get to be a little bit more flamboyant. Of course, the hero gets to, survive, but the villain has all the funny lines. I don't know about the first part, but the second part is something that I would definitely be involved in. Sure.
He's not wrong. That's a pretty good take, actually.
He's not. But,
I think if you gave me the choice, I probably would do that too.
But what's funny is like the people who had a problem with his Luthor, I feel like all of their problems are wrapped up in that one quote. Where he's like, they get to be more flamboyant and have funny lines. That is exactly what everyone who didn't like your Lex Luthor didn't like about Lex Luthor in that movie.
Yeah.
And
I'll cop that. That's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
For what it's worth, I didn't think his Luthor was that funny so much as he was just seriously damaged.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't quite Hackman or something where he's throwing out punchlines and shit.
I didn't watch this thing thinking, well, if that guy just put a tight five together, I think he's got a career. Like that was not even in the cards.
Right.
I mean, a bit flamboyant. He's shoving a Jolly Rancher in somebody's mouth. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
But that's also, I agree. From an actor's standpoint, that is kind of the fun part. Mm-hmm. You want to get given the weird stuff. A lot of actors do. It's just more fun. I mean, I think it's the adult equivalent of when you played make believe and you were king for a little while, and it's just that stupid and fun on just a base level. Something, shit. We've all done it. Most of us have done it.
So, Michael Kennedy over on our Facebook group says, here's my question. If the Snyder Cut was made proper, and if it got a good response from us, the fans, would we, WB, continue building from that cut? The only thing from this world after that cut so far is Aquaman, Birds of Prey, and Wonder Woman 2, movies that wouldn't seem to be affected by the Snyder Cut. Aquaman is self-contained. Birds of Prey, I guess, he hasn't seen, and Wonder Woman 2 seems set in the past. Thoughts? Well, Jason Momoa and James Wan said Aquaman was in the Snyder Cut universe. Mm-hmm. So there's that.
And
Birds of Prey seems to be not affected.
Birds of Prey is a borderline case. It could be an unreliable narrator, and it could be directly in the same universe.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of both, but it's not, or it is both, but it's also
a Schrodinger's film, man. I mean, there's no...
Birds of Prey is totally set in, what we can assume is the present. Wonder Woman 1984 is set in the past.
Yeah, you have that going at least. That could go different. But I think creatively, I love the idea, and it's one of the reasons that I love the DC Black Label stuff right now. Their Black Label content, some of it I've literally gotten the first issue and said, no, I'm good. Some of it's it was enough to keep me interested, but not amazing. Some of it has been stellar. Just having the Black Label, having the ability to do that has been, I think, something that I'd like to keep around. Something that I hope it survives the Didio? Sorry. So many D's in his name.
Didio.
I forgot how many I put in the first one. Something that I hope survives Dan's, because I'm going to say that instead now. Exit is the Black Label and the ability to do basically an Elseworld, but just without having to declare it as such. Something that's tangentially related in some cases. But creatively, it'd be fantastic. Contractually, practically, freaking maybe doable, but oh fuck, that'd be rough.
Yeah, I think the thing is,
you have these characters, you have these actors tied on for a certain amount of films. It's hard. It's hard. Disney's had trouble with it. Let's put it that way.
I'll say this, and you can say some of this might be a pipe dream on my part. I believe we will get the Snyder Cut. I really do.
At some point, I think we will too. I just don't think it's nearly as soon as most people are hoping.
I might be on board with that opinion. I think we will get a Snyder Cut of Justice League, and insanely enough, I think both versions are going to wind up being canon for a number of reasons. One, I think it's going to overall at the end of the day, they'll both be valid and they both won't affect what we've seen so far that's come out of the DCEU. I think that's part of what's smart about what they're doing now, as far as saying, making these movies that supposedly aren't really connected. But if you think they're not building up to something like Endgame, you're stupid, I think, because they are totally going to do that. Like, there's no way that they're throwing Ezra Miller into Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW and having a plan and not planning something.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something in the works. I think Hamada has been smart enough to make sure that, because I really, a lot of the stuff I'm seeing out of his tenure, I've liked so far. I don't. It would be difficult in two ways. One, like you said, the outreach to CW, which was an outreach on their part.
Absolutely.
CW got the phone call, didn't make it. The fact that there's this many pieces on the board that are already still making money. I mean, yeah, Birds of Prey made, I think, far less than it should have by any stretch. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's low, and is effectively at the end of its theatrical run as of today.
Yeah.
Those are the numbers.
As is everything.
Yeah. There's a lot on the table, and knowing the money that Endgame made and that all of the crossovers before that led to Endgame made, it's hard to buy the idea that they're not going to try something. Now, what they have planned, I don't know, but the idea that it's off the table and it's never going to happen to me is the real pipe dream. I don't know who would dream that. That's a nightmare. But it's something.
I want to walk back something.
Too much money on the table.
Maybe if you don't think that maybe you're not stupid. You're not stupid. I'm sure somebody is. But
I mean, there's probably coincidentally some stupid in there.
Yeah, being silly, because there's no way. Like, Endgame made too much money. Like, so many fans want a connected universe in more ways than just, hey, we mentioned Captain Boomerang.
Yeah. I mean,
the general audience wants that.
It's out there. And the fact that it's out there is just too much money for them to leave on the table.
But with something like Crisis on Infinite Earths, for setting a precedent, even where if they did it down the line somewhere, Ezra Miller could be like, oh shit, I've seen something like this before. Or I've been, that may have been what happened here, or, just whatever. Like, you could really set up something. You could set it up in so many different ways. You could have Pattinson replace Batfleck. You could have Batfleck come back and, Ben Affleck has joked about being like, Bruce Wayne on a walker and doing Dark Knight Returns or Batman Beyond, some version of an old Batman. Yeah.
All of it is possible.
Yeah.
You can literally have another Crisis on Infinite Earths and just do the story a little bit different, and it'll be fine.
So I there's no telling what they're going to do down the line, and my guess is if they do Snyder Cut and it works well, they might actually have a Snyder come in and do a version of his 5-film arc, finishing it up. They might, if it does really well. I don't think it'll be in theaters, but it'll be, HBO Max, Warner Max.
HBO Max to me is still the most feasible platform for it. And I mean, it still has to do with contracts. It still has to do with how many appearances people agreed to, because they plan their lives around this shit. They don't. Right. Nobody likes to sit in limbo waiting for the next movie, especially somebody that's. And all of these people are not. They're turning down stuff to do other things.
But here's what's funny: if they're doing that,
money on the table for them too.
This is the smart way for Warner Brothers to have their cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. Because this way they could bring back Henry Cavill and not upset the fans, but pay him way less money because it's only streaming.
Yeah. And, maybe he's open to it. He's doing The Witcher for Netflix anyway. Maybe he's open to the idea of, no, we're going to go creative over money. Let's do this. Let's do art for art's sake and make sure everybody gets paid scale and at least, and just fucking make a thing because we want to make it.
Cavill loves Superman, dude.
Really
I think he's proven that time and again. I think he would. And I think he would. He might for Zach, who knows? We don't know.
I think
just waiting to see.
I think there are a lot of favors that would be done for Zach and his vision if there was an outlet and it was the right time and place. I do think a lot of these people would come back for him. Honestly, I mean, the money has to be right and all that. Everything's got to line up, but it's not going to be a charity job. Just because again, money on the table. We're not talking about unnamed people. All of these people have jobs they're turning down to do other things.
Right.
They have agents and managers who are there helping them guide their way through that labyrinth and picking the best thing of the many possible options they have. These aren't unknowns. These aren't starving actors, man. It has to be right.
The biggest concern I would have at this point. The biggest concern I would have at this point is Ben Affleck. He has come out and said he's repeatedly now said that he thinks Snyder's version should be out there. So, I mean, if we're talking about finishing up the arc, dude, you could get Citrone to play Batman in the action stuff and just have, Ben being him out,
Oh, you can minimize what he has to do. Yeah. I mean, you could make it something he might be able to accomplish. And there is a point, Ben's in recovery right now.
Absolutely.
And I don't want him to risk that. I really don't.
No.
But there is a point where you can, in recovery even, there's a point where you can start to differentiate what was bad for you then and what is bad for you going forward. And if you're in the right place, some of the stuff that you can differentiate was bad for you at the time, to some extent you can still revisit. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a lot of stuff that's stuff I've been told is in the program, but still, right. It's not a death sentence. Even the fact that the Justice League production is something that genuinely contributed to his, I'm going to go with stress level, I guess, or need to escape or whatever it was that drove him. It's still not a death sentence for him in that role, in that capacity. Unless it is. And in that case, go be healthy, dude. Fuck all of it. Fuck all the rest of it.
If you need to make more Zack Snyder Justice League movies as a way of making amends.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you, sir. If you don't, I understand. We miss you, buddy. That's all I gotta say. All right. J. Scotty St. Clair says, can we talk Plastic Man? What do you think the likelihood is we'll ever see a live action version of the character? Who would you cast? Which creatives could handle the character? The likelihood is 100%. It will happen one day.
How hard is it to do? Very difficult. I mean, you have to have the right CGI team on it.
Yeah, yes, yeah. But as for who I would cast right now, my personal pick for Plastic Man is Ben Schwartz.
Who's that?
He was, did you watch Parks and Rec?
No, but I'm aware of it. And
he was in Parks and Rec. I don't know him from much other. He has like a improv. He's part of an improv duo. He was just
that's a good sign.
Yeah, he was just in he was just on an episode of Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend with his improv partner.
Oh, anyway, I did enjoy that episode. So
yeah,
and somebody with a background in improv, I think, would be perfect.
And I wouldn't have thought of him except that he actively campaigned for the role at some point and said he wanted to play Plastic Man. So, and I was like, holy shit, yeah.
I genuinely don't know who I'd think of because let's face it, you want a Jim Carrey type for that role.
Right.
I mean, that's the think-alike they call it or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. And my gut says it needs to be kind of lanky, but it's Plastic Man. Could be played by somebody who's physically not very lanky at all, just has a good mouth on him.
Jim Carrey would still be great. Like,
it would still be great to me, yeah.
Nothing says that he couldn't, play an older Plastic Man who then becomes, who looks younger because he's Plastic Man.
Yeah, of course. And there's, he's still got it in him. He still likes doing the over-the-top roles. I mean, I didn't get out for Sonic. I actually wanted to, because I was very curious, but I just didn't have time. Because we were at the house, we were fighting hen, foot, mouth disease before we were fucking worried about anything else that was going on. So, we've been worried about compromised immune systems for, at this point, 2 months straight and some change.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't gotten to go out and do that. But I would have. I really would have. If for no other reason, just to see his performance, because I thought, man, he's perfect. And and in the trailers, it looked like he was doing his thing. Like he's got many things. He's a very talented actor. But one of the things that he does better than anybody else is that over the top thing. And I genuinely don't know who I'd pick to do it other than him.
Yeah.
Like I'm having trouble getting out of the box on that mentally.
I have an awful idea.
Shoot.
And I know that it's an awful idea.
Uh-huh.
You do Jim Carrey with Jeff Daniels as Woozy Winks. It's written and directed by the Farrelly brothers.
It would have to be.
It would have to be.
There would be no... You cannot combine those two. It's like an unholy incantation at that point if you don't let those two back in with the others.
Or you can do... that might be fun. You do Jim Carrey and Matthew Broderick, directed by Ben Stiller.
Yes.
Do the cable guy again.
Yeah.
With Plastic Man.
Borderline creepy. Fun stuff.
Or we could even pop it over to Matthew Broderick as Plastic Man, with Woozy Winks, played by Nathan Lane, in a Mel Brooks production.
Nice. Actually, all right. So, given the moments I had to think here, I've got two suggestions. One, and I don't want to use him because I'd rather use him somewhere else, would be maybe Vince Vaughn. He does have a mouth on him. I think he could do it, and I know he can do the accent.
Uh-huh.
Second would be Andrew Garfield. That might be where I really put it. Let Andrew Garfield take a swing at this thing.
Maybe.
He looks right. He's got a mouth on him, and I know he can do an American accent.
Yeah, he
And
can.
a damn good one. And, frankly, Plastic Man has to have like a New England accent of some kind. I don't care where you place him exactly. New Jersey, Boston, whatever. Fucking the Bronx, wherever. But he's got to have that attenuation to his consonants.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like it should have and I'm still going to go back to the Jim Carrey thoughts. I think it should have the heart of Liar Liar. Where we know that Plastic Man has a kid. We know that he's sort of a shitty dad.
Yeah.
That needs to be the cornerstone of the film. Yeah, that needs to be
the B storyline that ties everything together.
That needs to be the arc. That needs to be the bit of heart to throw in there. He needs basically, if he wasn't already Ant-Man, I would say Paul Rudd.
He wouldn't be bad. He wouldn't be a bad choice at all.
No, of course that is exactly like Ant-Man. Plastic Man would be compared ad nauseum.
Speaking of,
and that is exactly the plot.
I love that.
He's a criminal with a kid who's trying to become a better dad and becomes a superhero.
Okay, I'm going to throw somebody else out. And this is, Paul Rudd reminded me of him. Matthew Perry.
Let me think. I'm trying to remember who Matthew Perry is.
Chandler!
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't see it.
No,
he's too old.
He's too old, but we just said old doesn't matter.
No, well, yeah, but I don't know that I see it at all, even with... I don't know.
He can do the two quick talky thing for sure.
Yeah. Now
he'd be master of quips.
You know what? I think he would be perfect for the next question though.
What you got?
J. Scotty St. Clair says, forgetting about Lego Batman for a moment, a film I do enjoy. Which DC characters and or teams do you think are most appropriate for theatrically released animated features, not unlike Sony's Into the Spider-Verse? Plastic Man, starring Matthew Perry.
I mean, I'm on board.
Another thing I could be really down for is Jake Johnson. I know he played Spider-Man in Into the Spider-Verse, but I like that guy.
But he was good.
Also, Jim Carrey, Ben Schwartz. I think Plastic Man would be a lot of fun for animated.
Oh, there's actually a guy. Oh no, he's already in the universe. It's one of the Batsons. I think it's Freddy in his like super form.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where I saw him. I'm trying to decide if I saw him in there or as the like Uber dude or whatever he's called from The Tick. Maybe the same guy, but that guy, I've seen his timing in a few movies, and he can do it. He actually at some point I saw him and thought, oh, he's dark-haired Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Which, let's face it, that's another part of this equation that we haven't mentioned. But if you're gonna do a Plastic Man, you need to have a little bit of Ryan Reynolds in him.
That's might be fair. Ooh, speaking of the person I've always thought was, well, to be fair, I thought Ryan Reynolds was light-haired Jason Lee. So Jason Lee for Plastic Man.
Jason Lee for Plastic Man is not bad. I can get behind that. Oh, and just because it'll be fun, when he goes into bud form, which I assume is going to be a part of the thing because Plastic Man in bud form is a big deal right now. It needs to be just like voiced and played by Ethan Suplee.
Okay.
Randy from My Name is Earl.
Yeah. Willem from Mallrats.
Yes. That
when
guy
do
too.
I get to see the sailboat? When,
Yes,
God?
exactly. A guy who is actually really good at his job.
Yeah, he's real buff now. Have you seen him?
He goes between. He got really skinny after My Name is Earl. Like when he showed up in a sidebar kind of continuation on Raising Hope, he was actually really thin. Like I was really happy for him. And then he got way bigger to play Chance. Not Chance. Chance was Hugh Laurie in the show Chance. But he was I think he was the major side character in that show, from what I gathered walking through in the living room when my wife was watching it. Mm-hmm. Looked fine. It's on the to-do list somewhere, but never had time. But he definitely got bigger again. And then being told that he's buff now, good for him.
Yeah, he's like swollen stuff. Like he looks like
sweet.
He's he looks like freaking Rhino from Batman the Animated Series, Like,
sweet.
He's just like real, muscular. It's weird.
Good.
It's weird.
You gotta wonder if like that version of him or the just the big guy version of him from American History X would be more powerful in that role. Hard to say.
It is.
I think they both would have sufficed.
Yeah. As for more animated, dude, I would love to see pretty much anything set to animation. Like I really do. I love that kind of style. I mean 2D animation, 3D animation, whatever. I like cartoons.
Yeah, whatever. And you can get creative in ways there that you can't with the big screen. It's too hard to coordinate.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an animated All-Star Superman sitting there, just on the shelf, ready to go. You can just go watch that right now.
Yeah, you can.
And I advise you do.
I think a really fun one would be Firestorm.
Mm-hmm.
I have always, and I know a lot of people haven't thought about this, and I think I want to say I was talking to Brent from Fans, but I might be wrong. But I've personally always considered Firestorm to be DC's Spider-Man, and they've never really utilized him as such, and he's never really taken off in that way. But like Ronnie Raymond is Peter Parker for the most part. Like in the old, you look at the old Spider-Man comics. He's always got like Uncle Ben's floating head above him, telling him with great power comes great responsibility.
The
like Ronnie
the voice
Raymond
of moral
literally
responsibility.
Yeah, Ronnie Raymond literally has a floating head above him, always going like, "Ronnie, what are you doing? That's not scientifically plausible."
Yeah,
like he's literally got Professor Stein like hell hacking him all day.
Yeah, there's real potential over there for that. Yeah, I would love to see that explored.
The thing about Firestorm is he's a freaking reality bender in some regards. Like that's really suited to animation.
Transmogrification.
Yeah.
I think is what they call it. And the only difference between him and a reality bender is that in theory, transmogrification, if I'm saying that correctly, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm not, but he can take the matter that's there, change it on an elemental level, and change it into a different thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas the reality benders can just be like, nope, there's the duck here now.
Yeah, which
I didn't subtract any matter from the situation. I just added a duck to it. Deal with it, bitch.
The duck had to come from somewhere.
It didn't have to come from anywhere. I fucking made it happen. Deal with it, universe.
I don't know why, but I'd like to know what Grant Morrison thinks about what was just said on this show.
I think I have it categorically correct, though. If I was doing if I was trying to make a taxonomy of the things, I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
Is what's that kid? What's the Fantastic Four kid's name? I'm blanking.
Franklin Richards.
Yes, that super powerful son of a bitch they don't talk about very much because he's too powerful.
Sue is not a bitch.
Fair point. Yeah, like there's a reason you don't bring those guys up too much because they just fuck all the gauntlet and everything else. They can just snap their fingers. It's over. Mm-hmm. Period. You're done.
Yeah.
Oh, Galactus. Hey, guess what? You're a feather.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we could do a Flash family. Like, if you really wanted to get like into the Spider-Verse, you could do Flash family. You could just have like the Flash teaming up with all these different versions of the Flash, and you could have like Barry and Kid Flash meeting Wally from the future and being like, "Oh shit," know, and like there being like a whole thing is like, "Dude, I can't tell you what happens to you. I can't tell you, Barry." Dude, that would be so good. You could have like Max Mercury. You could have friggin' Jay Garrick. Everybody. You could have Bart. Yeah,
I'd enjoy
that. Yes.
I would enjoy that.
All right. Scott of Squadcast asks us, will you record a radio drama edition of DCeased?
Oh, fuck, that'd be fun.
I'll do voices if you want to write it and produce it.
We don't have to write it. It's been written.
Yeah, but you have to adapt it.
Yeah, adapted.
You make an adapted screenplay, or I should say audio transcript. You provide the Foley. I'll do a few voices.
So basically me do all of the work and you do 2 hours of mic work and we call it. Okay.
I know what I'm down for.
So I know what I have at my disposal.
I know what I'm good for before you ever say yes and promise me to a thing that I never wanted.
Yeah, I've done it before.
How about this? If you write it, I'll edit it. And not the audio, but if you write the script, and I'll look at it and go like, yeah, that's bad. You need to change that. How about this? That's make the notes.
Funny part. You're not even agreeing to edit the audio. That would take time. You'd have to listen to it in 1x or something close to it. You're just agreeing to something you could speed read.
That's right.
This is not a fair deal, but
it's not. I don't want to do it though.
I will tell you straight out. Yes, Scott, I will look into it because that sounds hilarious.
Here's the thing. If you can get me excited about it, I'll do way more work on it.
No, I will legit work. I will literally work on that. That could be fun. I will tell you this though. I already have an idea. In the last few seconds we've been talking about this, I already have an idea, and it will not be what you expect. That's
interesting.
We shall see.
Well, maybe we'll get back to you. All right, we're gonna jump to a commercial break. A commercial that we have no control over, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about TV and more questions from our beloved listeners. So, stay tuned. We are back. We're talking TV, and right out of the gate, dude, man, they put out a couple of teasers for Stargirl. They have a new extended trailer for Stargirl. We've seen every member of the Justice Society. They look badass. They look just like you want the Justice Society to look. We've seen some of the villains, including Sportsmaster. He looks great. There's that great shot where you see like her like actually utilizing the staff, and in the background you see like wreckage. And now you could see that this like Stripe is laying on top of the wreckage. We see the Stripe robot, or the mech suit, whatever. It looks great. It all looks great. I'm excited. It looks a little more kidsy than a lot of people are wanting, but I feel silly, but I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited for it to come out in May.
I like your excitement. I have not had time to watch it. I'm just gonna have to roll with you on this one.
I'm sorry, and I feel bad because I should have sent it to you.
So yeah, no, I wouldn't have had time if you had sent it to me. I'm sorry. there's just
it's fun.
It's been a very, very stressed schedule the last couple months.
I hear you. Superman and Lois reportedly going straight to series production after the coronavirus delay. So apparently a number of productions, according to Deadline, are going to be doing this, like Call Me Cat and The Big Sky and or Superman and Lois. And they were going to just film a pilot episode, and then, they generally do a pilot, and then they take a break and they assess it before they actually go into series production. Nah, man. They're going straight into series production.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This might not turn out well. Hopefully it will. Usually, I think when you look at the pilot of a show and then you go like, that doesn't quite seem like the series. It's a little weird. And then you see the series, you're like, oh, they took what worked and they eschewed what didn't. And
Yeah,
that works.
Finding the footing is acceptable in the landscape of television. First season.
So, we might have a little more. We might expect a little more time for them to find their footing before we go, this is shit, and toss it.
Yeah.
Even though we won't, we'll continue to watch it and, hope for
And call
better.
it shit later if it is. Yeah, we'll just do that then.
I deem thee Lucifer.
Hey, even they come back sometimes.
No, they do. So, over to Watchmen. Damon Lindelof says, I wish that I had an idea for Watchmen Season 2, and I really wish that there is going to be a Watchmen Season 2. We put it all on the field for Season 1. And every great idea we had, I was like, what if we just put that in Season 1 versus, let's stick it away for later. And so, could there be a second season of Watchmen? I personally hope that there is, but I don't think it should exist just because people like the first season.
Those words should be inscribed somewhere on
Absolutely.
stone with lasers.
Thank you, Damon Lindelof.
That's amazing. I mean, I know they didn't downgrade or upgrade or whatever. They changed it from season 1 to limited series officially on HBO's listings, which is fantastic. I mean, yeah, and they both said the same. If something comes up, they're going to do it. But if it doesn't come up, that's what you got. And it was
that's
great.
Fine. That's absolutely acceptable. Absolutely fine. And I would say preferred in most cases because, ain't nobody out there going like, you know what? Riverdale's gotten so much better since season 1.
Yeah.
Like so many shows are just like, man, that was a great first season. And then as you watch it, it's diminishing returns. Like, just finish it, man. Just tell
make
a
it
story.
happen. Tell your thing. I agree.
John Hazelton on Twitter asks us, excluding Batman, what DC character would you most like to see made into a video game? Superman and Flash. Easy peasy.
Yeah. Oh, hardcore serious. Yeah.
Superman, Flash, open world. Truly open world, or as close as you can get to it. I want Superman's powers. I want Flash's powers. I want to see those like in action. Let's do it. If you're doing Flash, I want to be able to go back in time. Like, I think
No, that should be like late in the game with like a level unlock kind of thing.
It should be a level unlock, but once it's unlocked, I think once you run a certain, it should be like a system where you slowly get upgrades in terms of how powerful you are.
Yeah.
And then once you can run a certain speed, you can literally, if you have enough distance or enough flat surface or something, you should be able to go back in time and the city actually change and be as old as, you could go back into the West or something. And I think you could actually alter.
I mean, that'd be
you should
fantastic, but the programming would be just.
Oh, I know. I don't know how they would do it.
Stupid.
But
That many variables in a freeform environment would just be
right.
Like, you might as well at that
do
point figure out automatic learning or AI.
But what would be cool is like if they did a game where you could actually go back and alter the course of events from the beginning of the game and screw stuff up. Like, let's say you save a bunch of citizens in part of the story mode at the beginning of the game. Later in the game, you get time travel ability and you go back and you do things differently. You change something, and then that never happened, and the world ended. So you're running around in a post. Like, you could actually have like, it's sort of like Fable. You remember Fable, the game?
No,
where you just
I think what you're talking about is you need to have moments, though, like not being able to freeform change the entire environment. Just have moments where it's a bit of a choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Maybe so. Maybe a combination of things.
That would be the middle ground where you can still write code that does a thing without having to have that code do every possible thing. That's impossible.
Here's what you would do.
Could compute that.
No, you could, I think. Here's the thing you do, though. You create the Flash game, and it's like free form, like all you can go all over, like open world, Central City. All right, you can run all over Central City.
Mm-hmm.
As the game progresses, you unlock different DLCs that you can download, which are ostensibly the same city, but from different time periods. You can unlock different time travel. Like you could just basically have different like add-ons for the game. Spend $15, $20, $30, whatever, for like different skins that have different stories involved, and you have to do certain things to get back to your time. You know what I mean? Like, and alternate realities.
Yeah, that might be doable.
I mean, you would, once you went back in time, you show like the Speed Force and like a little load screen or something, and then you're inside the new game.
Right.
I don't know, but yeah, Superman and Flash. That's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, outright, that would be amazing. I wouldn't mind Green Lantern, but
yeah,
because you
Green
could
Lantern
just
would be
tell
fun.
one story and make all the variations be in the constructs, but it would still be limited.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't a character you could pick that wouldn't be a lot of fun for certain reasons.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 2 as well. I mean, whatever. Yeah, you could make a fun game out of any of these people. They're just ripe with it. It's just a matter of getting the right people to produce it and follow through, because honestly, in game production, sometimes you get halfway in and people just bail. Funding goes away. It's over. I
mean, honestly, if they had the staying power, if they had like let's say 10, 15 years down the line, we actually have, enough social awareness or, public awareness of the Hawks. Dude, I would love to see some, Hawkman, Hawkwoman video game action, man. Like you could do so much with those guys. Like
ton of fun with that.
I'm a little surprised we haven't seen anything with Aquaman.
Just doing dog fights and fucking warhammering people in the face. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm with the success of Arrow, I'm surprised we haven't seen a Green Arrow game. Like you could basically use the mechanics of the Batman games and just have like street level, action. You could play Black Canary or Green Arrow, run around, Star City, shooting your arrows, doing your canary cries, whatever. Like that feels like it would be a very attainable.
It's attainable programming wise. The problem is the amount they want to invest in it. It's best I can tell, it's getting a little bit harder to find people to really invest in a franchise.
Yeah.
But that's a problem for a different set of expertise.
Yeah. Ooh. I want a game where I'm Darkseid trying to conquer the Earth.
That's called Plague Inc.
And I loved that game.
I did too. And now I kind of feel bad.
Yeah, no. All right. Let's see.
I mean, he literally has anti-life equation. It's basically a virus. It's pretty much the game.
Well, a lot of times as Darkseid, you have to find the anti-life equation. A lot of storylines involve him trying to figure out what the anti-life equation is.
Yeah, which is more fun than him when he actually uses it. Because when he actually uses it, it's real dark real quick.
Yeah, but if you have limited resources, you're opening boom tubes, you're sending out a certain amount of parademons, you have to build up your army of parademons, you have to conquer other let's say they throw in some other worlds and they do a little bit of a it's like when you're fighting Earth, it's more like your standard Rocksteady game, but otherwise you're gathering resources and stuff. It's almost like Command and Conquer.
Yeah, it goes from a Star Trek game to a Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, a little bit. And
you could build that
have to
differently.
build up your forces of parademons, convert different whole planets into parademons. That could be really dope. That could be cool.
That could be fun.
All right, so Chris Baga from the World's Finest True Believers podcast, fantastic podcast, says, with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War signaling the end of this iteration of the DC animated universe, what would you like them to bring to the next iteration of the DCAU? Any characters that you would want them to give some more screen time to? Storylines? What do you think, man?
Dark Knight's Metal, hands down for me.
Metal?
Yeah. Okay.
I want two things. All right. I think this is the perfect time. I would love to see the Metal stuff, but I think this is the perfect time. This is big time 90s, early aughts nostalgia. I think they need to full force bring back the DC animated universe from Batman animated series through Justice League. I need to have features for those. And I really want to see adaptations of Dark Knight Strikes Again and Master Race. And of course, the Golden Child, the new one that's currently coming out. And I would love to see an animated version of All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder, hopefully with Frank Miller and Jim Lee coming back to say, like, by the way, this is what was supposed to happen if it had ended. So let's just put that into the adaptation. But yeah, I want to see like a Frank Miller animated universe.
But I think I'll take everything that we just said and throw it into a pile of any of these, please.
Yeah. Any
of those, please, and thank you.
Wobbly Boots 85, Nathan Blacksnow over on Twitter says, with the upcoming Green Lantern TV series, assuming it's a hit, how many seasons before we get into the color spectrum war? I think we get hints right up front, and maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'll roll with you on that. Yeah.
He also asks, would you prefer a Legion of Superheroes or a Red Hood and the Outlaws miniseries? Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Yeah, me too. I fought that battle for a second in my head, but I'm going to go with you on that too.
Well, the thing
I wouldn't mind either, but if I had to pick.
Yeah, the Legion of Superheroes opens up more of a full and lush DC universe for people, but Red Hood and the Outlaws, man, I just like that so much more than the Legion of Superheroes.
They have their ups and downs.
Yeah. All right. What story would you, he also asks, what story would you tell to set up the Amalgam Universe? And for those who don't know, the Amalgam Universe is from the 90s, and it was a combination of the DC Universe and the Marvel Universe. They did DC versus Marvel, and then those two universes got combined. And you got characters like Darkclaw, who was a combination of Batman and Wolverine. And yeah, Sabretooth and the Joker were combined to be his arch nemesis. And, I can't remember, like there was like the Amazon or something, and that was like Storm and Wonder Woman combined or whatever. And,
yeah. Crazy
Spider Boy. People. Yeah.
Just crazy powerful characters. How would you actually get into that universe though?
I wouldn't tell any story to set that up. I would just be like, hey, here's a portal. Here's Marvel versus DC. They're all fighting, and oh no, a thing happened, and just easy peasy, man. Just as because you want to spend time. You don't want to spend time on the setup on a story like that necessarily.
No, if you spend time on the setup, you're actually trying to tie it into the universe, and then you have to justify that going forward. So it might not even be smart to tie it into the universe. It might be a thing you just want to do as a sidebar anyway.
Yeah, like I think it would be. Would be smart
continuing that story. I think you might just go with just pick like 6 characters and just do an origin story in 1 month of those 6 characters and have the comics going forward.
Mm-hmm. See, I think if we were doing this for like an animated thing or, even a live action bit, if they did it live action, they should do DCU and MCU and actually do it, make several films together. That way you have the setup for the characters, and then you do Marvel versus DC or DC versus Marvel, and then something happens where the universes are combined, like a little mini crisis, and then you have a series of movies really quick after that. That's like, here are these characters, here are these characters, here are these characters. And then you go back to normal. It's undone.
Yeah.
They've made their billions and billions and billions of dollars. And you can set up the next things.
Yeah. Just do it as a sidebar. Hell, do it as part of Flashpoint and just make it a sidebar that you make billions off of and call it a day. There could be a Flashpoint 2 a few years later if you're not making enough money.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I hate to say it, but this is actually a short episode for us. We've been recording for 1 hour and 3 minutes, and I'm done. I don't have anything else.
Still short for us.
It is a short. Yeah. Anything less than 2 hours these days is short for us.
Yeah, I know. We're the most dangerous when the least amount of things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
I have one quick call to action, and then I gotta bounce.
Sure.
I say it's a call to action, but whatever. So low key, I've been working on this for a few months, and it's something I just thought would be fun to do with people. That may eventually be something that we kind of broadcast in some capacity, but just something I thought would be fun. And DC Universe just scooped me on it entirely. So to catch you up, this will be brief, but what I'm asking for is if you want to help, if you want to participate, and play along with me, just go ahead and let me know. DC Universe is effectively doing the thing that I wanted to do, but just they're airing it in a capacity that we don't have, and they have at least 2 celebrities that we don't have at our disposal. So, all right, long story short, there's an RPG, like D&D style role-playing game from the 80s called DC Heroes. That's what I've been studying for a while. What I'm asking is if you know this game and want to help me understand how to play this game, because the game that's actually happening on DC Universe is actually giving themselves a little bit of leeway as far as, it's near 40 years old almost at this point, and people aren't sure about the rules anymore. So I've been trying to understand this game the best I can to be able to play it, just because I wanted to be able to play it, just because it sounds fun to go into a fantasy universe where you RPG with like playing Batman or whatever you want to do, and have some fun. It's all I wanted to do is have some fun. So if anyone wants to help me actually do this, or help be kind of what I would call a practice player or something, please let me know. If you want to get a feel for what it even looks like, I would say go watch the DC Universe show that's called, fuck it, I can't remember right now. I've watched the episodes, and they're fun, but they're keeping it low key up front. Like they're clearly building towards something, and it'll probably be more evocative as they go. But right now they're keeping it pretty low key, and the stakes aren't that high. And if people aren't tuning in, I would suggest that's why is there's no major characters involved quite yet. So, point being, if you want to help me out, either to understand how to manage this game, or to just play along and fuck around with me, or to just fuck around and have some fun, I need you to let me know, because it's something I'm gonna try to set up that I think it'll be enjoyable. Like, even if we just play by our rules, fuck it, it'll still be fun. We'll go have an adventure in the DC universe in general, and waste a few hours. It'll be a good time. Something we can set up over Skype, something we have some kind of input with in certain ways. Whatever. Let me know if you want to play. We're going to try to set it up. I'm going to try to set it up. I've been studying it for a while. I'm not, at this point, a novice, but I need some practice actually making this thing happen. So if you're interested, talk to me later.
Yeah. Where can they get in contact with you other than at DC on Screen on Twitter? What's your Twitter? At DuckDuckGoss?
DuckDuckGoss on Twitter. Just get in touch with DC on Screen in general, email, whatever. We're whatever normal channels. Call the 259-6331 if you want to, and just leave me a voicemail saying 205-259-6331, and just let me know there's a voicemail there that's related to it, and we'll find a way to patch you in. We'll figure it out.
Absolutely.
Just something that could be fun. That's all.
From 2 to 4 every Saturday, Jason's in his front yard receiving smoke signals. So, yeah, absolutely.
I have a series of homing pigeons that I have yet to release because I don't know where their home is, and I don't know who will get it.
All right.
I was just capturing pigeons for a while.
You were doing that anyway.
It was not.
It was weird.
I mean, I got excited about an idea, didn't have a lot of follow through. Let's face it, that's what happens.
We are DC on Screen. You can find every episode for free.
Would probably fly like 3 blocks away and be like, well, good to go. And I'm like, yeah, all right, well, let that coyote know that ... I shouldn't have cut you off. I've got I can hear a baby crying in the background. I gotta go. Yay, quarantine.
DConscreen.com for every episode for free. Whenever I feel like putting it up, apparently. And yeah, man, subscribe. Head over to patreon.com/DConscreen if you want even more from us. And until next time, keep some DC on your screen. Our intro music is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Galactic Engineers of Magnetic Sounds, or GEMS, can be found on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Visit DCOnScreen.com to find our Patreon, merch, contact information, and every episode of the show for free, including crossovers we've done with other podcasts. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. For more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, vlogs, parodies, and our improvised web series Hey Guy, visit maladjusted.tv.